What timing this is, Aston Villa, because breaking news on Aston Villa's Twitter feed. They have just announced they are delighted to announce the appointment of Unai Emery as the club's new head coach.
Yep, so it's official. Unai Emery will be joining Aston Villa as their new manager. I'm joined with Sharman and Singh. And Mikey, you actually guessed this last week when we were having our roundtable talk.
I'm happy you pointed that out.
Well, you didn't get it. You mentioned, by the way, there's other names of interest. You weren't saying he's going to be the guy.
I threw out like 4 or 5 names. But hey, you got to play your chances, right?
This is how we're starting it. Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, a little bit surprised, I will say, because Villarreal, although coming off of their loss to Barca, last week, midweek, they're 7th in La Liga. They're tied with Bilbao, who's in 6th, so they're just outside of Europa League. We know how much Unai Emery loves Europa League, winning with Sevilla 3 times in a row, Villarreal just 2 years ago. Do you think it's good that he went to Aston Villa? Do you think that's fair to Villarreal, like the way he's left?
I know you don't think it's fair.
I
to
don't
Villarreal,
at all.
But we've seen this a couple of times already this year. Like Graham Potter went up and left Brighton, went to Chelsea. Money talks. At the end of the day, money, and also, as I mentioned last week, the opportunity to save Aston Villa and honestly make yourself look really good, because there's not that much saving to do. We're a handful of games into the season. They've had a poor start. They're dealing with injuries, but the talent that's on that roster is better than what they're showing right now, better than 15th place. So I think it's a good chance for Unai Emery to return to the Premier League, where it's left a bit of a sour taste in his mouth, the way that he ended his tenure with Arsenal. B, you have a club that's ambitious, a club that is willing to spend, a club that's willing to spend on you. And C, it's a chance to look good, because Aston Villa are going to probably turn their form around under Emery. So,
James, do you think that he has the ability to turn Aston Villa's form around?
Oh, yeah. I know a lot of Villa fans are hoping for another former PSG manager, right, in Pochettino, which wasn't going to happen. But this is a really good hire. Yeah, 100%. This is a cultured manager who took Villarreal really as far as they can go, I think. And I think they realized that, he realized that. And it's always tough in the mid-season, I understand. But like Mikey said, this Villa team, they're a huge club. Don't forget that, right? They're not a super club, perhaps, but they're a huge club. Great history, great fan base, amazing stadium, and some talent on that team. I was watching this past weekend, the big win, and it's a pretty decent 11 he's got there. And like you said, this guy's got a big chip on his shoulder. He wants to prove something to the Premier League for how it ended at Arsenal. He did some good things at Arsenal, but he was never backed the same way that Arteta's been backed, ever. And he's kind of mentioned that since. Had he been given the same kind of budget and the allocations, he would have built that team differently. And I think even now, Arteta is taking advantage of some of the work that Emery did at Arsenal. And don't forget, he replaced Arsene Wenger there, right? That's tough. Real tough. So I think it's a great hire. This is one of the most respected managers in world football, and I think he will really lead Aston Villa, whatever their promised land is that top 6? Could it be top 4 every now and again? I don't know. That might be a stretch, but I think he's definitely the right man for the job.
were you guys surprised to see Emery appointed as Aston Villa?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I mean,
surprising, right?
Leaving mid-season is always weird for managers, so that's a bit of a stretch.
But I think that's a testament to how well Aston Villa did here. That we're all surprised that Emery is going to Villa, because it's a home run for a club like Villa, in my opinion, based on what Emery's accomplished.
Yeah. I will say, though, he's obviously done well at Villarreal. He's done amazing at Sevilla. But, we saw him struggle with Arsenal. We saw him struggle at Paris as well. Like with PSG, he did not do well with that club.
Relatively.
I think he was not the coach whatsoever. Pardon me?
With big egos at those
Yeah,
clubs.
of course. But still,
More so than
he
Villa.
knew what he was getting himself into. So I've really only seen him succeed in Spain. So I think that also might be something he's carrying, because he's been, around the block. Like you said, he's a very well-known manager with a big repertoire. But I think this is really important for him, because he really has only done well in one country. And now going back to the Prem, in the state that the Prem is, being the most competitive, it's really going to show, can he bring it?
I'll tell you this much. If he leads Villa to, say a top 6, top 7 finish, and wins the Europa League at some point, because he's going to win it at some point. It's what he does, right? They'll be all over that. Villa fans will love that. That is what they want.
100%.
A trophy for Aston Villa. in 2022, 23, 24. That'd be incredible. That's kind of what their aspirations are at this point, be it an FA Cup, be it a European Cup. Fantastic. And he'll build that team, I think, with the backing, and we'll get to that point where they are a contender for some trophies.
Just really quickly, guys, let's jump over to another Premier League club, Manchester United. Again, we're talking about Ronaldo. Surprise, surprise, he's back in training. Mikey, what do you make of this? We're just going back to, regular viewings here. And
Yeah, to be honest, he came out, he apologized. Did we love his apology?
Did
Maybe.
he apologize?
Did he apologize?
Yeah, Ronaldo's version of apologizing. Apparently, him and Ten Hag have been in constant dialogue since it happened. Listen, at this point, what are you going to do? You're going to banish him for the rest of the season and make a bigger case of it? No, I mean, both parties are hoping to move on, find a resolution, and he's going to be in line to potentially play some minutes on Thursday. So I think they're just trying to put the whole situation behind them, and hopefully between now and January when the window opens, they can just stay professional.
There's 6 games left, right, between now and then, with the World Cup break, of course.
Right.
6 games, right? They can surely, get on for 6 games. And then, like you said, January, worry about it then. Be it MLS, which was mentioned yesterday. Today, Napoli's being mentioned as a destination. Why they would mess with what's working there at the moment, I don't understand, because everything's going right at Napoli at the moment. But yeah, let's just get through this, lose the soap opera, play some minutes, maybe score some goals. Who knows? Who put it past him, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And just quickly on Manchester United, shouts to Michael Carrick, who's been named the new manager of Middlesbrough. We'll be watching that as well. But guys, stay with us. Coming up after the break, we're going to be talking UCL, and we're covering you with all the matches for Rapid Fire. Matchday 5 continues on Wednesday with so much on the line for the likes of Barcelona. I'm joined with James and Mikey. Gentlemen, we will see some massive matchups with Tottenham and Sporting, as well as Club Brugge and Porto. But first up, let's send it over to James, of course, talking about Liverpool. James?
Well, Sarah, with Napoli dominating in style so far in Group A, Liverpool's consistent start to the Champions League has flown under the radar, especially with the Reds' domestic struggles continuing with a loss to Nottingham Forest this weekend. Still in Europe, it's 3 straight wins for Jurgen Klopp, and it's 3 straight wins against Ajax in all competitions. Liverpool need just a single point to confirm advancement from the group, while Ajax are officially in must-win territory. It's been a strange season for Liverpool, but they have shown an ability to bounce back just before the panic sets in. And despite a litany of injuries, Thiago and Darwin Núñez should be back. I expect a strong European road performance and a plus 180 to win and grab all the corners. I like my chances.
No Lorenzo Insigne, no Dries Mertens, no Kalidou Koulibaly, no Fabian Ruiz. But it does not matter for Napoli, who are not only tearing up Serie A, but they're top of the table in Group A with a 100% winning record. Nobody would have expected this type of resurgence from Luciano Spalletti's squad, as they're heavy favorites on Wednesday, and for good reason. 17 goals for, only 4 against, including a 3-0 drubbing of Rangers in the reverse fixture at Ibrox. And now, they're at home. Give me Napoli to put up at least 3 against a Rangers side that have conceded 16 times in their first 4 matches.
Top of the table Club Brugge, imagine saying that, are taking on Porto in Matchday 5, and this one promises to be exciting. The last time these two played, Brugge smashed Porto in Porto 4-0. After that, Porto went unbeaten until this past weekend, where they lost to rivals Benfica after Steven Eustáquio received a red in the 27th minute. Brugge, on the other hand, haven't lost a match in their UCL campaign, but remain 3rd in the Belgian Pro League behind Genk and Antwerp. Listen, Porto are the favorites, but with Brugge's form in the UCL and the fact that they're at home, I'm staying away from the winner here. And guys, neither one of these teams are struggling to score, so go for goals. Also, if you want to add a little sprinkle, you can take Mehdi Taremi to score anytime at plus 225.
As poor as Atletico Madrid has been this season, they still have a good chance of advancing with a good result against Leverkusen, who are also well positioned with a win, depending on what happens with Bruges and Porto. Atleti have just the 1 win so far and have seen the attack dry up, with 0 goals scored and 5 of 6 going back to last season. In fact, Atleti games have hit the under in 7 of the last 8 in Europe. Bayern are hardly going to offer an open contest either. They too have just 2 goals so far. Despite the importance of this match for both sides, there will be few goals, taking a home win, and the under pays plus 320.
There's a good chance that Inter Milan can book their ticket to the knockout stages here against Victoria Pilsen, depending on what happens with Barcelona and Bayern. So they'll be extra motivated to pick up the result and avoid a meaningful game against Bayern on matchday 6. Let's not overthink this one. Pilsen are outmatched and Inter will pick up all 3 points. But in what fashion? Considering they've only found the back of the net 6 times so far this Champions League campaign, I'm feeling bold. Give me Inter to win and score less than 3 goals at plus 250.
Well, isn't this fun? Look who got stuck with Barcelona and Bayern. All right, guys, let me try my best. Guys, this one has way too much writing on it. Let me explain. The only way Barca has a chance of advancing to the round of 16 is if they beat Bayern this week and Victoria Pilsen next week. Oh wait, and Inter have to lose, not draw, to Victoria Pilsen. Oh, and one more thing, Inter and Victoria Pilsen play Wednesday at 12:45 and Barca play at 3. This means that Barcelona will already know their fate going into their match. One more thing, if you look at the table, Barcelona could get away with tying Inter for points if Inter win on Wednesday and lose next week, and Barca wins their last 2 matches. But because UCL uses head-to-head, even if Barcelona have a better goal differential, they lost both matches to Inter, so it won't matter. Guys, do not bet this match.
Group D is just great. All 4 teams are still in this thing, with last place Eintracht Frankfurt just a win away from potentially sitting in the top 2 spots. Marseille, of course, have brought us some of the best moments of this year's tournament, although they did lose to Eintracht earlier this season. The Germans are playing well domestically, having won 3 straight and cemented in the top 4, while the French side have lost 3 straight. On current form then, Eintracht appear the better team, and at plus money to win at home, that's the direction I'm heading in.
As James mentioned, Group D is still wide open, making Wednesday's Spurs-Lisbon game that much more interesting. Antonio Conte's side enter as heavy favorites, but I wouldn't count out Lisbon here. The Portuguese side have already pulled off a 2-0 upset in the reverse fixture and have proven to be a legitimate threat in each of their previous 4 matches in this competition. Tottenham, meanwhile, are in the midst of their worst run of form this season, and they'll once again have to cope without 2 of their more important attackers in Kulusevski and Richarlison. I'm not saying it'll happen for sure, but at 6-1 odds, Sporting Lisbon on the money line is worth the gamble. But that's all for the Champions League. More coming up next. Stay tuned.
World Cup Group B is a spicy mix of UK rivals England and Wales and one-time military rivals USA and Iran. Runners-up at the Euros, England arrive in Qatar having failed to win a single game in the Nations League. But it was all different in the World Cup qualifiers, with Gareth Southgate's side going unbeaten to finish top of the group. Captain Harry Kane needs only 3 goals to become England's all-time top scorer. And the Three Lions are favorite to finish at the top spot in Group B at -350. Greg Berhalter's US side won their inaugural Nations League campaign and arrive at the World Cup with one of the youngest squads in the competition. Qualifying courtesy of a 3rd-place CONCACAF finish, Team USA features the Premier League talents of Christian Pulisic and Brendan Aronson, and is viewed as the 2nd favorite to reach the knockout round at +100. Wales manager Rob Page will lead a golden generation of players to the country's first World Cup since 1958. After finishing 2nd in their group, the Welsh needed playoff wins against Austria and Ukraine to book their spot in Qatar. LAFC's Gareth Bale is the talismanic captain and standout player, and Wales are at +115 to make it out of the group stage at the first time of asking. Ex-Man United assistant manager Carlos Queiroz is back at the helm to lead Iran to their 3rd successive World Cup. Iran were impressive in qualification, finishing top of their group, and Porto's Mehdi Taremi is the highest profile player in the squad. Despite regular World Cup appearances, Iran have never made it out of the knockout round, and they're at +400 to progress in Qatar. Yeah, you know what? Group B is wide open for me. It's one of the groups I'm really struggling to see who's going to go forward. England, Iran, USA, and Wales. James, England are the favorites, but their form of late has kind of been questionable, not to mention the injuries that are piling up. Are you concerned?
No, I'm not concerned about advancing from the group. I mean, listen, we can overthink this, and England fans are really good at overthinking things. They're the class in this group, and yeah, it's been a really poor Nations League. Pathetic actually. But don't forget, back at Euro, they were very good last year. The previous World Cup, very good, semi-finalists. They have depth as well. So it's a team that, yeah, there's some injuries, especially at the back, but I'm not concerned. They have the depth to cover it, I think, moving forward, certainly. So, Wales always play England hard. It's what they do. They hate England. It's great to see, always good rivalries. They played them hard at big tournaments in the past. The States, we'll get to them. They're very much transitioning. We've been hearing that for the last couple of years. And Iran, listen, with respect, Iran, it shouldn't be a force. Group phases, you always get some odd results. I understand that. I've seen England play the likes of Algeria at World Cups and the States and put in some really bad performances. But without overthinking it, the talent lies in that England squad. And I think they've got the potential to go very far in this tournament if they can get over themselves and just believe in themselves and score some goals, because talent-wise, they're one of the top handful of teams at this World Cup.
Not to mention Harry Kane is just 3 goals from being England's top scorer. Do you think we're going to see him get there in the group stage, Mikey?
Yeah, I do. Just looking at who they're playing, and that goes along to what James is saying. I think England is clearly the better team. But this is a group where it's not like Group A. Group A, I feel very confident about Netherlands against any team in that group. England against any one of these teams, I can also see the tide going the other way. So I still believe they're going to come out on top, but I don't think it'll be as easy as some may think. Harry Kane, yeah, I think he'll score because he finds a way to score in big games. There's nothing bigger than the World Cup right now. So, yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think the manager has to let the shackles off a little bit, pushing forward. He's going to play through at the back. He is very pragmatic and likes defensive football, which is proven to win tournaments in the past. And it worked pretty well in the previous 2 tournaments, right? But with the quality in England is in attack, especially like you mentioned with the injuries at the back. I don't know what the back 3 is going to be. I have no idea, quite honestly. Is John Stones going to be healthy? Harry Maguire has been really bad for a couple of years now, but seems to always play better though when he puts the England shirt on. I think Southgate's so loyal to his preferred players, right? So I think Maguire will start. But if you let the Phil Fodens, the Harry Kanes, you've got to get Bakary Saka in there. I think this year he's one of the most informed players in English football right now. Sorry, Raheem Sterling. You've been a great servant, and off the bench, what a nice option. But I think you put Saka there. So I think overall, let the shackles off, let the boys play, and they'll be fine. But Gareth Southgate hasn't shown a propensity to do that just yet. So we'll see.
Okay, let's jump from the most favored to the least favored really quickly in Iran. They just got their previous coach, Carlos Queiroz, back last month, and he has been great with them. He's coached them for 8 years in the past. He's coached Portugal, he's coached Egypt, he's coached Colombia. He's been around the block and he knows what he's doing. Iran last World Cup tied Portugal, lost to Spain, and beat Morocco. They almost advanced. They had 4 points in that group of death. A point behind Spain
didn't
and
advance. That's
but
tough, eh?
They didn't, but they were in the group of death. Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and Iran. It was tough. But that team is primarily the same team they have now with Mehdi Taremi, who scored 9 goals all season for Porto. Are we overlooking this team? Are we assuming, okay, let's say England is the favorite. I don't think anyone will disagree with that. But who's to say Iran can't beat, either USA or Wales and finish second?
It'll be a dogfight for sure, But they're an interesting team, Iran, right? Because there's so much off the field around that nation right now, and those players are very much on the side of the people. A lot of political pressure, and you don't want to see that, leak into on-field performances, but it does happen occasionally. So Iran's a really fascinating team to watch, I think, at this World Cup. But can they beat the States? Absolutely, because the States haven't impressed me at all, in recent times. And Wales are, again, a fighter, a good team, but I think that battle for second place is wide open. You said it's a wide open group. I agree with you. I think you have England at the top, and then you've got a real great scrap for second place.
Yeah, I haven't been impressed by USA. I haven't been impressed by Wales at all.
No.
Like, Gareth Bale is not Gareth Bale anymore. He's no longer the guy that can just put Wales on his back and carry this team forward. And other teams, like the US, I know they're transitioning, but they're taking steps forward.
Well, they
And
have some great talent on that team. If you look at those youngsters,
Exactly.
Giovanni Reina, like Pulisic,
Yeah,
they're
but we've been hearing that for the last 2-3 years, right?
it's
I'm
true.
still waiting for them to move forward under Berhalter. I
Yeah.
think I'm with you. They've got a lot of talent, and they should be further along than they are. But we saw them a lot in qualifying, right? They weren't good. They had a couple of decent performances.
their last
perhaps.
window was terrible.
yeah.
terrible,
I do
right?
think
Yeah.
CONCACAF also struggles. CONCACAF teams because of the competition they play in, just naturally,
true,
right?
yeah.
It's less competitive. All right, really tough group. I really don't know what to think. But James, give me your top two. Who's going through in Group B?
All right, I'm gonna go England, and let's go with some CONCACAF, shall we? I'll go with the States. They're gonna figure it out. They're gonna eke out a couple of narrow wins, and I'll take the States.
I'm gonna go with England, and I'll go with Iran because I think they have something greater to play for, and a lot of times you see that spark the
Like in
team. So
Ukraine. They did the
exactly,
same
look
thing.
at Ukraine.
All right, guys.
What about yourself?
This is historic. I am agreeing with Mikey Singh on this one. We're going to
All
go
right.
England and Iran. Have to back them. We'll see. It's going to be tough. But tomorrow, guys, we'll be covering Group C. Stay with us for that. We have Argentina, Mexico, Poland, and Saudi Arabia. Thanks for watching.